here we see one example of Glaneuse by Stéphanie Béliveau. This series of drawings were made between 2011 and 2017. It is an installation of a total of 110 drawings made out of graphite watercolor pastels, watercolor, charcoal, acrylic, gouache, inkjet, print transfer on various found papers. The sizes vary from anything between 13.2 by 11.6 centimeters to 21.6 by 17.8 centimeters, or 396.27 centimeters by 121.972 centimeters for the total installation. So this work again is by a Montreal artist named Stéphanie Béliveau. I'm getting a lot of the information about to give to you from her website. So this is about herself in her own words. Okay, I'm obviously going to paraphrase, but yes, I got it from her own website that she designed herself, or at least said, hey, put this information, etc. So she got her master's degree in visual arts from the University of Quebec in Montreal, or commonly known as UQAM, in 1993. Although she's been active as an artist since 1989, she's won the Pierre Ayotte Prize in 1997, dedicated to emerging artists. Most of her work is in modern and contemporary art, and really demonstrates sort of the impact of World War II, etc., onto the world. Um, so she's done quite a lot of work, of course, here in Canada, but as well as abroad. She obtained some support from Le Conseil des Arts et des Lettres du Québec, which is basically a Quebec organization that really focuses on Quebec artists and making sure that they have the funds necessary to develop their skills and to become professional artists. At least that's the goal, right? She also was a part of let me see here, the Arts and Architecture Integration Program in 2008. So she's had her work exhibited at many different places, including the Montreal Museum of Fine Arts, the National Museum of Fine Arts of Quebec, and of course, all throughout other cities and provinces and countries. I saw this particular work at the Côte des Neiges uh, building of culture. Okay, so basically in Montreal, each city or borough has its own pavilion or section where it presents different art movements, etc. So you'll have maybe theater shows, you'll have art exhibits, you'll have dance shows, maybe music, etc. So Côte des Neiges is one of those boroughs that has its own art exhibit. It's free to enter for most things and participate for most things, or at worst, you might have to pay, $5, $10. So it's really at a nominal fee, very, very little if you pay anything at all. So it's a really great way for Montrealers to not only get around and have that, hey, let me go to this. There's this particular exhibit at this particular place. Let me go check it out. But you get to go see it for free. When a lot of people, you might not be able to see art, or it might be, oh, it's too far away or it's too expensive, etc. So you might be able to see a play, or like I said, participate in or view an art exhibit, etc. Of course, pre-COVID, they also had premieres and so forth, where they'd have wine and things being served to guests coming by. Since obviously COVID, things have changed. obviously, but was a really good experience to have. So I'm grateful I was able to at least participate in these exhibits pre-COVID, just to have a sense of what can potentially be enjoyed, um, and really be offered to the public. Now, I think this is something that happens in other cities as well, but I can't be sure. But for those of you who do live in other cities, do let me know if you have a cultural center in your borough where they do present different arts, whether it's performative arts or visual arts, etc., whatever the case might be, and what it is like for you and what that experience is. What, is it just here's an exhibit and you kind of have to, be lucky and hope that you time it well, or is it a whole hoopla event? Like I said, I know pre-COVID, it often was, a whole hoopla event where they'd have a sneak peek or a premiere where they'd have, maybe some food and wine or something offered to guests, etc. So let me know in the comments section. So, what I like about this particular piece is the fact that it's very simple. It's not overcomplicated. There's not, oh my God, look at all these details. Did you see this? Did you see that, etc. It's very simple, very to the point. But in that same token, for that same reason, it also opens you up to a whole series of questions, because even though you get the impression that this is the form of a human being bending over to maybe pick something up or tie their shoe or something like that, you don't know for a fact that that's what it is, right? You get the idea. It's sort of like the Rorschach's tests, right? Where you're being told, like, or asked, I should say, what is this? Is this a butterfly? Is this a human being, etc., right? And I did see, and I have to find that video about the Rorschach's ink blots that were a big fad uh, for quite some time when you went to see a psychiatrist or psychologist, right? That they were actually considered as very effective for quite some times, because they actually did mean something, right? So if you were not coming up with something that would be, yeah, that makes about sense, they would be like, wait a minute, like this is supposed to be butterfly-esque. And if you're coming out and saying, no, this is a human being, this is an alien, they'd be like, wait, what? You're like, whoa, wait a minute, how you not seeing the butterfly or the butterfly-esque shape to it, right? So this is kind of what this image, now, as you can see, there's 110 of these images. I did take pictures of all of them. I won't share all of it with you, but if you want, you guys can go onto my Flickr account and check out each individual image. Now, hopefully, I remember to put the link to this image and to all the other images that are part of the exhibit from the artist, so that you guys can see each and every single one. So I do admire the fact that although you get a sense of what this is supposed to be, that it's really, there's some room to negotiate as to what this could possibly mean. You don't have to see a human being bending over, right? It could be your hands trying to do a shape, like your two fingers pointing down and maybe your thumb in a weird position or something. Who knows, right? It could be a whole series of different things here, right? You don't have to see one particular thing. So there's quite some degree of room for your imagination. So it is sort of almost like the modern day version of an ink block test, and to see, well, how is your brain thinking? What is your brain's pattern recognition, right? There is that, also that app game that, hey, recognize this, this sign, where basically you just see a black and white outline of an image, and based on that, you're supposed to get what the logo is, right? Well, we all know the McDonald's arches, right? So even if it's black and white, oh yeah, that's the McDonald's sign. or that's a Nike swoosh or whatever it is, right? There's a certain amount of signs that even if it's in black and white, you're supposed to recognize, you're supposed to know. And they do that intentionally, right? With logos, right? They try to make it so that even at a very basic level, you're going to recognize that shape and sign to McDonald's, to Nike, to whatever, right? That's why a lot of places, a stop sign will always be the same shape, right? It's always going to look the same no matter what. So even if, because here for those of you who know, I'm Canadian. Here in Canada, we have two official languages, English and French. So when you're in Quebec, where I'm from, the stop sign will say arrêt or stop in French. But if you go outside of Quebec, it most likely will be in English and say stop. But they'll put red and the same shape. So that way, regardless of whether you speak French or not, regardless of whether you speak English or not, you're supposed to be able to recognize that same shape, the color red, and oh, that's a stop sign, I need to stop, etc., right? So there's certain amount of symbols that you're supposed to recognize. Your pattern recognition is supposed to kick in, and oh yeah, that's this and that's that, etc. But with paintings like this, it kind of puts it in question. Are you really what are you really seeing? And I like that kind of thing in art, where you're questioning a little bit that your capacity to recognize patterns. Is there something here to recognize, or is it just a bunch of nonsense, right? Because in the installation, the artisans is saying, "Oh yeah, this is a hand. This is a human bending over. This is XYZ." Right? Quite the contrary. She's leaving it open for you, for the viewer, to decide for ourselves what exactly is going on here, right? And you guys will see when you go through the images, well, what is going on here? What is happening, right? Ask those questions. Now, that's relatively rare to see that in even modern day art. Most of the time, the artist will tell you, will give you an idea, this is what it's supposed to represent, or it's not necessarily about representing one thing, but more of a thematic, right? Oh, this is an image to contest the war in the Ukraine, or the war in Syria, or the colonization of, etc., etc., right? Where there is a theme or an idea behind, without necessarily representing one particular thing, right? So with art, you'll get a whole variety of different ways of handling what are we describing in the artifact, if anything, right? So here there was very little description. You're really just given the information that you see on screen now, and that's about it. You're not really given more than that. So the artist is clearly leaving it up to you and I to decide for ourselves, what's our takeaway on this? What do you think of this, right? Obviously, there's some parts that are darker than others. It almost feels in certain places that there's something that's been peeled away forcibly from the page, etc. And the fact that it's all done on pages that were found. Well, found where? Because obviously, found on the ground at home is very different from found next to a garbage can out by little streets, where that, hey, people are going in that corner to pee and all that, right? So it's a very different kind of, the paper is not going to be exactly the same state from each other, right? So it's a very different takeaway when they say found paper, right? So there's all these different ideas that come into place. And like, how do you deal with that as an audience member, right? When you're seeing this, what do you think about it? What do you feel? Do you feel dirty when you see this? Do you feel, well, yeah, that's dirty, but I'm okay because, well, I'm, stepping away from it. I'm wearing gloves, I'm wearing a mask, etc., etc., right? So, again, the artist is leaving all that to your imagination and your thoughts, and for you to decide for yourself What do you want to do with this? How do you want to feel about this? Right? And there is no right answer or wrong answer. There's just your answer, right? So let me know in the description what's your takeaway? What do you think about this? Do you like this kind of piece? Do you not like this? Because again, guys, I'm not here to tell you this is all wonderful and perfect and oh, it's so fantastic. If you don't like it, you're a horrible person. No, of course not, guys. You guys have the right to feel differently than I do about this. And you should. It's not because I like something that you have to like something. It's not because I dislike something that you have to dislike something. So please, guys, let me know if you feel a certain kind of way, whether it's in agreement or disagreement with me. Let me know in the comments section. I really don't mind having an open, honest conversation. Art is supposed to be provocative, it is supposed to be thought provoking. You are supposed to feel a certain kind of way when you see art, right? And it's okay to be like, yeah, I don't get this. It's nonsense to me. It's okay to, even if it's that, it's okay. Not everything is supposed to make sense. There's lots, believe me, there's lots of paintings. When I first saw them, I'm like, what the, what is this? How, what, oh, it's supposed to be that? Really? Okay. I'll have to I'll have to find a couple paintings and talk to you guys about that because again, guys, I'm giving you my thoughts and opinions, but I'm by no means an art historian, an art expert. I'm not an artist myself. Um, Although I am an amateur photographer, I know how I feel. I know what I like, what I find is beautifying, but I am by no means the kind of person that says, because I like it, it must be this way always. Unless it's in my own home, my own room, then it's like, hey, I live here, so I have to make things enjoyable for myself. So I hope you guys enjoyed my ramblings on this art piece, and please do let me know what you